righty. Are we there, Jeremiah?
Yes.
Okay. I am here too, and got some people coming on, it looks like right now. Sharing the love, signed in with John this time instead of Jeremiah. Check that one out. What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
We are on the Livestream.
We are on the live stream.
Yeah, the live stream. We're always a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah. So I'm hoping people can hear what we're saying, because getting some funky stuff going on, it seems like here. Is everybody hearing us on the live stream? Go ahead and say hey if you can hear us. But we are excited today, Jeremiah. We're excited.
Oh, I'm ready.
Do you know why we're excited?
We have a very famous guest about to join us.
We have an extremely famous guest about to join us. And that special guest is somebody who, hey, sounds good here. We're good to go on the audio. That's good. So here's who we have lined up for today. We have a guy who is currently hiking a 12,000-mile trail, Jeremiah. 12,000 miles. Calls it the American Perimeter Trail. Do you know who this guy is?
It is Rue McKenrick.
Rue McKenrick, and we're going to bring him in right now. How's it going, Rue? You doing all right, man?
Hey, John. Hi, Jeremiah. This is great. Yeah.
Glad to have you on here, man.
I'm super jealous of those mics. Those
are
cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We appreciate that.
It makes me feel official.
This is what happens when you have the big bucks, you know? That's what happens.
That's right.
Yes.
There you go. So, man, how are you today? You doing all right?
Yeah, it's just typical backpacking stuff. I have weird red marks on my arms. I don't know. My stomach has been giving me a lot of trouble for a couple days.
Oh, man.
There's always something going on with the feet or something chafing. So that just is like a normal part of backpacking that if you wouldn't ask me, I probably wouldn't even recognize it, because it's just like that's part of the gig. So other than that, I just say that I'm in northern Wisconsin, and just kind of moving right along. Some serious challenges in the last month or two, and just walking through it. Mm-hmm.
So how many miles are you right now on the trail?
I don't know. I'm guessing 9,000.
Wow.
I've never tried to figure it out. That'll be more important at some point in time, but it's not that important to me as far as the greater project. So at this point.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
So we gave everybody a little bit of a taste before we brought you in. Why don't you give everybody just the general concept of what you're doing right now?
Yeah, and I think something that you said there, Jeremiah, is you said concept. And I would say that that's a very accurate way of putting it, because the American Perimeter Trail right now is mostly a concept. However, the American Perimeter Trail project is more of an action. So conceptually, the idea is to create a long distance trail that generally follows the perimeter of the contiguous United States. And so I started hiking on that journey in July 15th, but July of 2019, not this July. And I left my home in Bend, Oregon, and started down the Pacific Crest. So I can say a lot more about that. What would you like to know?
Well, if everybody doesn't know, you're a triple crowner, and I just want to kind of know first what inspired you to start this perimeter trail, and then where do you see it going?
Okay, great. Yeah. So thank you for that, Jeremiah. The Triple Crown wasn't on purpose. I never had any intention of hiking the Triple Crown. I think mostly 20 years ago, when I started long distance backpacking, it was typically a one and done. it seems like maybe there's a different feeling around that now, that people set out more goal oriented, like they want to be do double crown or triple crown or something. But at that point in time, I just wanted to spend time out in nature, and I wanted to do a bunch of backpacking. And I was a young man. I mean, I had some angst going on. You know, I kind of needed some space and some time, and just to experience something different than what I'd ever experienced before. And so I first through hiked the Appalachian Trail, and then I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail and the Continental Divide Trail. And basically, like through the process of doing that, I had just like this feeling a lot of the times where I wasn't exactly sure. You know, you ask me why or what's the motivation.
Yeah.
I ran into issues with that myself where I wasn't sure. And I thought to myself, what am I doing? And why am I doing this? And the way that I kind of addressed that was during off season. I often worked for nonprofits, and I worked for Outward Bound, and I worked for the Appalachian Trail Conservancy and some different groups, and served on a board of some water conservation group. And so at that point in time, I didn't think that the backpacking was really going to be part of my life work at all. I thought the conservation would be, but I thought that I was going to get married and have kids and kind of, you know, go into that next chapter. Because I was probably, you know, at that point I was probably 28 years old, I guess. So it didn't happen. No one wanted me. So, so I ended up like reconsidering the backpacking.
Do you want us to put it out right now that we're trying to find you that special somebody? You want us to get that out for you today? In the podcast?
No. That would be funny.
No, my life's great. Yeah. You know, my life is great right now, and you would think that it's pretty quiet, but there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and I don't really want to mix it up anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm traveling, like even when I get home, you know, this is my love. Like the APT is my love right now, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because it's not like I'm someone who is obsessed. Well, that's probably not true, but it's not like I'm someone who's obsessed with my work, and it's all happening in a vacuum. Because what you'll find is Layla Grace, the coordinator, and I have created, we didn't create, but there has been a large community that is formed around that. And that fills me up very much. So yeah, please don't try to hook me up with anyone.
Well, we won't do that then. We'll just keep our mouths shut.
No, yeah, but yeah, that's fun though. But yeah, so the APT, you know, when it's done, the idea is maybe it would be 12,000 miles, and it uses existing trails, it uses existing conservation corridors, it uses public land, it uses easements. It's going to be years and years of work. So I want people to understand that I'm not necessarily doing this because I'm trying to create America's next long through hike. Right. Because I honestly don't care if people through hike or not. And when I did my work with the other trails, I don't see a difference. To me, I don't really have a different connection to through hikers or to people who are day hiking. Even some trails you can use horses, or some trails you can use bikes. And, you know, the idea here is more to create conservation from a recreation effort. And one way to do that is to give people wild spaces, some of them already public, but wild spaces that can be used for something that they enjoy to do with their friends and family, or something that they use as healing, or maybe a spiritual practice. And in doing so, this brings a kind of usefulness to that land that's more important to people than just extracting whatever they can from the land. And I'm not talking about agriculture. I'm talking more like, taking a pristine area or a semi-pristine area and then just taking like all the natural resources for it. And the recreation tends to, people become more protective over it, I think. And I could be wrong, but that is the idea behind it. So it's to create this conservation corridor through recreation.
That's awesome. And it's interesting too because you're kind of connecting a lot of trails together. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I just thought that was a pretty awesome thing, thinking the idea that the PCT and the Appalachian Trail could actually be connected when this whole thing's done, which is just kind of a cool concept to think about. The two big trails that everybody always talks about, and there will be this new trail that's actually going to connect the two of them, that's pretty cool that you're pulling that off.
Yeah, thank you, John. And can I speak to that real quick? So I didn't solo use the PCT when I came down this trail because I'd already hiked, I'd already through hiked the PCT. And when I go back, I may not use the PCT to get home because it's not as informative for this project, because that section between my home in Oregon and Washington, I've already hiked twice. So, and then I didn't use the Appalachian Trail, but the Appalachian Trail was closed. So I made my own, so I made my own trail route coming up the Appalachian is on the eastern side of the Appalachian Trail. And the route that I came up was on the western side so that I could only use trails that were still open. And I saw, and there was no one out there. I never saw a backpacker that whole time.
Well,
so, I think it's like the concept is great. Yeah,
I was saying I found your most recent map, and you're right. You actually went through Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia and Pennsylvania, it looks like, when you were hiking this. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder
that's
how
right.
accurate it is.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said, just more informative. Yeah. How accurate this map is?
Yeah.
Yeah. To what you're actually doing.
It's not even close.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering about. That's what I was wondering about.
There's been many variations of it. When I first started realizing I was going to go do this, I was partnering with a nonprofit in Bend, Oregon, and one of their employees actually is the person who created the website, because that was before Layla. Grace, the coordinator, and I had started working together, and she wanted to make the map, which made sense, so we could show conceptually what would be happening. But I sketched something on a napkin, sent her a screenshot, and she put it up. And then it just changes as we go. So like I said, if you look at the part of that, it may look like I'm only on the North Country Trail, which isn't necessarily true. And it looks like I'm coming down the Pacific Crest Trail when I get home.
Yeah. That's
not necessarily true either, because our process is week to week. And during a pandemic, we really had to do that. And so this might be a strange process, but I pick out routes weekly and sometimes daily and sometimes hourly. So as I'm going, like I said, the coordinator, Layla Grace, she rarely knows where to send my packages, even a couple days ahead of time, because I'm not sure yet. And I don't know how she puts up with that, but she does. So
I was wondering how you're making the route, because you're saying that you took like not the AT, a different route on the western side of the Appalachian Mountains. So I personally don't really love road walking, And it seems like that would almost be unavoidable as you're kind of going sometimes day by day, like you're saying. So, what is the process like? Can you take us through it? I'm super curious.
Yeah, and I'm sorry you broke up there a little bit, but I'll be happy to tell you. And if this Wi-Fi is being weird, I'll go outside or something. So we'll just see what happens. But
Okay.
the you want to know more about just like the process of how I figure out where I'm going to go.
Yeah, because you said it could be kind of day by day or touch and go, especially with how the pandemic has impacted your planning. So I was just curious, like, you wake up one morning and you decide which way to go. And I was saying I try to avoid road walking if I can, but I didn't know what your process was for deciding what you're going to do that day or week.
Yeah, I mean, I even made a decision today that I didn't know I was going to make. So what happens is I have a series of maps and ideas in my head that I'm considering I think would be the best for the long-term project. Now, with that being said, when I got to the Appalachian Trail, um, and I came up the Pinhoti Trail in Alabama, which I hiked before, I thought that I would do some, for a personal reason, not for furthering the project, but for a personal reason, I thought I would weave in and out of the Appalachian Trail, maybe come on and off of it, check other routes and stuff that I haven't already hiked a couple times. Because I have a lot of miles on that trail, not just the through hike. So, and that was just for my own mental health because I hadn't hiked with someone since California, and even then, it was just for a very short period of time. So I thought maybe I'll go over here to the Appalachian Trail just for a couple of days to be around people. Then I'll weave west and kind of weave my way back and forth. And that, like I said, it didn't seem reasonable to me at the time. They were closing the trail. And so I made my own route. But basically, I just look at maps. I don't use town guides. I rarely know what my mileage is. At the end of the day, I have an idea, but it's kind of a guess most of the time. And so I basically carry maps. I usually have a paper map with me, and now I have a Gaia GPS that helps out with that as well, like just determining. And I'll use whatever I can find. So if there's something like, for instance, in the North Country, there's a lot of snowmobile routes, and there won't be anyone on them during the summer or the fall, and they're all over the place. And so I've used some of those when it was a better option for resupply, or just was better, like scenically the best choice, or so many reasons. So I kind of just stack my maps and look at them and overlay them in my mind and then make a decision. And that's my process. And I sometimes feel like at the end of the day, I did a good job. And then there's other times where I'm like, that was a bad route. That was just a bad route. That's not going to be part of the APT. It's not going to work. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a question for you too. I lived in Wisconsin for 4 years, and I know how cold it gets in the wintertime, and it's getting closer and closer to getting cold, and you're on the northern part of this route. How are you prepping for that cold weather? Because it's going to get pretty nasty through some of the areas you're getting ready to hike. Oh, we lose our connection. Oh, there we are.
May have to ask him again.
Yeah. Did you catch that last question?
I didn't. I don't know.
That's okay.
I may have to go take a walk.
You just came in really clear all of a sudden. Like all of a sudden, you look great.
Yeah, you're
like,
beautiful.
Not that you looked bad before, but you look better now. So, let me ask the question again. I lived in Wisconsin for 4 years, and I know how cold it gets in the north. And I know
Mhm.
you're doing the northern portion of the trail right now. So
Mhm.
winter's almost here, in just a few months.
Mhm.
How are you prepping for some pretty brutal weather conditions where you're hiking?
Yeah, there's some gear stuff that'll come on. I went through this last winter, and that was good preparation for this, because I had a serious like blizzard in northern Arizona,
Oh, wow.
and then like a couple days later, it snowed another 3 feet on top of that. Um, and so there was a lot of really inclement, high elevation, poor weather by myself. It wasn't like there were other backpackers. So, a lot of that trail was above 7,000 feet that I was on. So, that
Oh,
Oh,
man.
I
This is
was
getting good, too.
so yes.
So for those of you watching right now, if you have questions for Rue, go ahead and post those in the comments, and we'll make sure we get those to him as he's talking. Because Rue is on a trail currently and just kind of trying to find places to talk. We kind of knew that internet could probably cut in and out on us, so we're cool with that. But you had just said you were just above 7,000 feet for a lot of that hike.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the trail in like Arizona and New Mexico was staying pretty high that I was using, the route that I was using. And so it was normal for me to break into my water sources with rocks. Like that was a normal everyday
Wow.
thing. It was normal for me to have to sleep with all my stuff in my bag at night, or my water would freeze. So, it's not the first winter on this trip. What I would say is that being as I've been navigating through many different challenges as I've gone, including a pandemic. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna navigate through it. I mean, mm, it's like I'm not exactly sure what I want to say about that. I mean, it's gonna be important to have winter gear. I'm gonna have to swap stuff out, but I've had to do that the entire trip. So I don't know what really can prepare you for that, and I don't know if I'm going to get slowed down from storms, or I don't know what's coming. I guess
Just kind of take it as it comes, huh?
I really have to. If I get ahead of myself on this thing, it's just going to suck any joy out of it, to be honest with you. It's just that notion of completely living in the future and missing everything that's happening in front of me. And I can do that very easily, especially on a trip like this. And I don't want to. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. So
You,
it's good to have some preparation and experience, um, and then let it go, because sleepless nights worrying about this stuff is not good when you're trying to backpack like this. So yeah.
yeah, you touched on this a little bit, and you gave us a little bit of a taste of some of your experience on trail because you're talking about the inclement weather and being above 7,000 feet. And I want to ask you, this is my favorite thing. Like, it's storytelling, right? So I love, sitting around the fire, you're telling stories. I wanted to know, I've been reading your blog, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and looked, and I saw a little bit about an experience you had with some gear and having to replace that gear. So I don't want to spoil anything. I want you to tell everybody, if you're okay with it, I assume you are since you put it on the blog, about what happened with this gear that kind of disappeared.
Okay, good question, Jeremiah. I'm glad I get to address this because, well, there's some new information.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
oh,
Yeah, there's an update here. There's some new
Breaking
stuff that
news.
I haven't shared this with anyone yet because I haven't been able to confirm all of it. Layla has confirmed it, but most of it, but I haven't completely. So, um, unfortunately, I had all of my gear taken. So I'm not the first person this has happened to. Every long trail I've been on over the years, this has happened to someone. And so that's why I always have a rule of like my bag's never out of my sight. I'm talking about my pack, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I can even remember years and years ago, 17 years ago or something, going into a restaurant and this guy being like, you can't bring your pack in here. And I was like, that's all I have. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, we're gonna have to figure something out, or I'm just, you know, I'm not gonna eat here because it's that important. And so he was like, hey, no offense, just the packs smell really bad. It was a trail town, so they were used to it, but I was kind of like, you know, checking because I was like, I'm a close second for that pack if I'm not beating it, or at least tied. So so we worked it out, but typically it's something that I never let out of my sight. And I've walked into many stores where they've said you can't bring your pack in, and I've worked something out where I've just left because it's too important. So I was in a town, and the other thing that happens with this too is if you're in non-trail towns, maybe the community doesn't know the trail's even there and doesn't understand that maybe they don't quite understand like how important that stuff is to you. So it was fully loaded pack. I mean, like trekking poles, everything. And I went in a store, and I don't know why I dropped my pack, and I was like, I'm just going to be in here a minute. And then nature called, and I was like, oh. And the whole time I'm like in the bathroom, I'm like, have this like little low anxiety because it's pack separation. Because we've spent a lot of time together now at this point.
You guys got really close.
We have, and so, and it's just all. I mean, everything I own is in there, and so I came out. I was shocked. You know, contacted the authorities, like did whatever I could, and didn't know what to do. And honestly, or not honestly, but people from the North Country Trail Association did some slack packing for me, so that I until I could get my gear.
Yeah,
people I don't know at all were like, here, you can come camp here or stay here, and we'll have a tent there for you. And we'll come pick you up at the end of the day, and you can still camp or whatever if you want to. But they kind of got me through it while some stuff got replaced. If you go online and you look at the website for the American Perimeter Trail Project, there's a link on there that shows like a bunch of different companies and stuff that I use. And I want to just recognize them as completely coming through for me. I mean, I called everyone and was like, we've got a major issue here. We have a big problem on our hands. And they were like, no problem. We're sending it right out today. Whatever you need, just tell us what you need. And they did. Like, ooh.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing about the backpacking community.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to start getting emotional about that. So then we got a call, or Layla got a call. The coordinator got a call a couple days ago, and or a message. And so there's someone who's been following the trek. I don't know him. I called him a couple times to speak with him, and we'll catch up with each other probably the next couple days. But they're following the trek, and they were aware roughly of where the stuff had gone missing. And he was on a 2-track back behind his store in the woods, and he had a bloodhound with him. And the bloodhound found my pack like practically buried like way off under this brush, like hidden, like stashed. And so, yeah. And so I tried to thank him. He was like, it wasn't me. He's like, I never would have seen it. It's the bloodhound. And I think his name's, I think his name's Reginald. I have a picture of him.
Oh, that's
when
awesome.
we were,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
maybe that's not right, but when we were gonna like share this publicly, you know, I'm gonna post a picture of him, this bloodhound. So we still don't know how much he completely recovered, but it looks like it's, you know, mostly recovered. So he had some theories about like what maybe possibly happened. I don't know. So yeah, some of that stuff has been recovered. I don't know what shape it's in. It has been mailed back to, it will get mailed back to Philadelphia to the coordinator's place. So I don't even know what's usable. I mean, I know some of the stuff was worn out anyways. It was getting replaced soon. So that's the story of the bloodhound in the backpack, I guess.
That's a great title for a blog right there.
Yes.
The bloodhound in the backpack. I like that. I just think that's one of the things I've grown to love about the backpacking community is it seems like when problems come and things happen, everybody just kind of chips in and takes care of each other. And it's pretty obvious that's what happened with you when everything went down with your stuff getting stolen, and the emotion that you just showed in thinking about that. So here's a question. Who are some people you've met along the trail that have really stood out to you? People who you've gotten to have conversations with, maybe even hike with a little bit. Who are some of the people that you met along the trail just that you're going to remember when this whole thing's over?
Oh my, I'm going to get in trouble if I start saying names. I can already think of my friend Molly, who I met in Etna, California. And if I don't say her name, I will hear about it. There will be a message saying
what happened
you didn't
with her?
mention me. But you know, what happened with her basically is I came into a trail town off the Pacific Crest Trail, and I had really horrible folliculitis, which I didn't even know what that was.
I don't know what that is right now.
Yeah, it's bacterial and it's caused by heat. And I had just had just had heat stroke that week. So I was having a rough week. And while I was recovering from that, I broke out in these boils. So your skin breaks out in all these small boils, like thousands of them. But they like to break out in your crotch. So it's like super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable. And, you know, I put like a backpacking skirt on and stuff and tried everything I could. And I was in a bad way. So I needed some medical attention. And I came into this town and these people stopped me on the street and they're like, where are you coming from? What are you doing? And I was explaining to them and I said, yeah, how do I get, I had gone to like a professional that day and they had written a prescription for me, but the way that it worked is they didn't have any extra meds on hand. I think that may be a clinic that they also do like veterinarian work too, so it's like veterinarian / you know, backpacker guy. And
that's about right.
You know, it's a small town. So they didn't have a pharmacy or anything there. The closest one was like 50 miles away. Ooh. To go get this medication.
Man.
And so yeah, I was stressed. I was feeling bad. I was stressed, but at least I had an answer of what was going on. And I was given this phone number of this lady who lives in this town, and I called her the next morning and said, you know, hi, my name's Rue. I got this. She's like, yeah, I know who you are. You over at the campground. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And so she came so, so she came and picked me up and drove me, the whole way across half the state to go get this medicine, and then wouldn't let me leave town until like, I was in good shape. So, that's how her and I got to meet. And it's really nice of that kind of bringing together, because otherwise we're two people that maybe wouldn't have met. Our age difference is huge. Not that that matters to me because most of my friends are older than me anyways, but maybe it's just interesting when you were saying about the backpacking community and how they all come together. Well, I've been going through non-trail communities, that I haven't seen any backpackers. So it's been more not like the backpacking community, it's just been like the human race.
Oh, wow.
Because there are so many people supporting me and these efforts that have no interest in hiking. And it's not a lot of those people, like I've got an opportunity to meet, and it's been like just a personal connection that's carried it. But just, I mean, there hasn't been any hostels, there's not any like hiker hangouts. Like there are no backpackers. It's just the people I've met are just, I have 100 stories, and so it's like, and during, the first part of COVID was really rough because I only saw a postmaster once a week, and that would be the only person I would see that week. And I think sometimes I was probably like trying to talk their ear off a little bit because I knew that was the only conversation that might have that week. I couldn't always charge my phone, and I rarely had service. So coming up the Appalachians, really just didn't have many of those connections, but that was circumstantial. That wasn't because of the region. And I'll give a shout out to Michigan. I have had this huge group of people in Michigan that are either associated with the North Country Trail Association or not, that have hosted me and fed me, and like it's absolutely incredible because I was alone for so long. So it's been a real effort by many people, and I wish I could tell you the stories of all of them because I'm a character, and most of the people I meet are. So I love it. I love it when I meet these people, and like I rarely talk about my backpacking. I love it when they just tell me about their families and just what their life experience has been like.
We actually have a question from one of our viewers right now asking how are you mentally dealing with the loneliness on this trek? That's a ton of miles solo. How are you dealing with that while you're out there? Because you just said in the Appalachians you hardly
and
saw
who's
anybody.
asking the question?
It's a channel called Hike to Change.
Okay. Yeah, I want to thank them for that question. I couldn't see their name. I think that I probably hit a bottom with it. Probably like in Ohio. Like really. I mean, it's something that will the isolation can make you ill, physically ill. So I would say, how do I cope with it? I just tell myself to be in the moment with what is happening here in front of me. And I know that it's temporary. And then what I do is I have a lot of people out there that support me that I'll, make phone calls to just so I have someone to talk with. But I mean, I haven't camped with anyone since California. So it's just me, and it's gotten better. I mean, loneliness is bad, but hostility is not good. Like if you're going through non-trail communities and they don't know who you are or what you're doing, that's even worse because now you're lonely and you haven't seen anyone all week, and then you come into a post office or something and you're getting like a hostility vibe or like a misunderstanding. But I really don't know what would be like exactly how I cope with it. I think because it's temporary. Honestly, I mean, I think if I knew I was going to be doing this for the rest of my life, I would make a change.
Yeah.
I always spent a lot of time by myself.
Might have just lost him there just for a second. It's a great question. Great question.
Yeah, I'm really curious
Um,
because
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. This is
we're
next
back.
level.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people should, or not should, but I mean, I think I've had a lot of rewarding experiences in my past with solo backpacking. Some of the most rewarding. But if I'm honest, I don't think there's anything really besides trying to rely on a support network of people that you can call at any time, maybe have some kind of spiritual connection or practice to the earth and to the places that you're traversing. And I noticed I notice I'm a happier. I notice backpacking is easier when I'm around people. I don't know how else to say it. I just, for me it is. It's just, and going out for a weekend or a week back home, I do that all the time, and I never had an issue of loneliness. But this one is like, I'm heading home, and I know that, and so that's probably my biggest coping thing, is just knowing everything is temporary. And if I get too hung up on these things while I'm doing this, I'll just miss it. I mean, what if I never get to do something like this again in my life? So really just cherish this. But it's brutal at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question.
And we go ahead.
That was a
Jeremiah.
good question.
So I tell people, like, you imagine something that you would love to do. Like, for instance, you're doing this American Perimeter Trail around the U.S., but it could be so lonely. And people have this idea of paradise, and their paradise may be backpacking a trip. But when you have circumstances like you went through and you're doing a lot of this alone, people say, oh, I think it'd be great to be stranded on a tropical deserted island. Everybody thinks it'd be great until they actually get out there and do that. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. And the coolest part to me is hearing the experiences that you're going through. And it's something different every day. It's awesome that it's not just a mundane thing. Even though you're doing one step in front of the other, you're still experiencing something new every day. And that's why I want to ask you about something I read.
Okay. Here it comes.
I'm a good seguer. So
You are.
John and I have both been using hammocks. And I think that you might be using a hammock too. And I read something about, if I remember right, I wrote down a question about a tree falling. Either your hammock is tied to it or falling onto it. What happened?
Okay, so for full disclosure, that wasn't the first time that happened.
Oh, wow.
I had it happen the first time I through hike to the Appalachian Trail, 2003, and it happened a day or two before I summited Katahdin to finish the through hike. And so that situation, I hadn't seen some people in a while, and there were some people that were camped like a couple hundred yards away, kind of in the area, because I had said hi to them earlier, and I ended up finishing with them. But there was a storm, and they were all in their tent, like playing Yahtzee, like in the biggest tent they had. There was like 5 or 6 of them packed in there, and storming, so they're all inside. And I come up to like the wall of the tent, and I'm hurt. I mean, I am bent over. My ribs are in bad shape. My back is in bad shape. And I'm like, hey guys, can someone help me? A tree just fell on me, and I can't get my hammock. I can't get set back up. I'm too hurt to set it back up, and I can't get it out from underneath the tree anyways. And they just were like, laughed and just like kept playing their game.
No.
And I was like, what is? And then finally,
one of them, you or?
Yeah, finally one of them came out and was like,
"Oh no!"
And
okay, he's back. Okay, good. You're back.
Yeah, I had mud all over me, and yeah, one of them came out and was like, "Oh no!" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We thought you were we thought you were joking." And I'm like, "I'm not joking. I'm hurt." And they helped me. They were great. They were totally awesome. They just thought. I just thought I was screwing around with them. This time, what happened was, it as the last time, they weren't trees that the hammock was actually attached to. This one, this past one, which was just a couple weeks ago, I was I was in a very forested area, and I was at the bottom of a hill, and the tree was up the hill. And I don't even know how it made it the whole way down. Because the next day I looked around a little bit to see where it came from, and I have no idea. It was a bad storm, but I don't know how it traveled that far. It knocked me clean out. So I was asleep. I was asleep when it happened. So I didn't wake up for like 16 hours after that. And so when I came to, I didn't know what was going on at all. All I knew was I was on the ground. I wasn't supposed to be on the ground. I kind of didn't know where I was. I mean, I was pretty dazed and confused. And I just laid there for probably 45 minutes to an hour until I started kind of putting together, like, I think there's still a tree laying on me. Because I couldn't see it because I was all wrapped up in my hammock. And so I basically just packed up and hiked out and took some time off, took a couple days off. And, I don't know if I broke one of my ribs in my back, but I separated my shoulder and I broke a toe on my right foot. So
it's good that didn't get any worse than what it was. Man,
I know. I know. It really could have been a much worse situation. And so I went from hiking like 20 to 30 miles a day to like hiking like 6, and then like the next day like 8, and then like the next day 10, because I was just that sore. I was just hurting that good. So that's basically what happened. I mean, I don't know how you get around it if you're setting up your stuff at night in a storm. You just have to do the best you can, and it's very rare that happens to anyone. And so for it to happen twice, I don't know.
Twice.
It's very rare that somebody starts packing or starts backpacking last July and is still going in September of the next year either. So
okay, well that's
that's
okay. Point taken.
So okay, we have another question. You were talking earlier how you're kind of a goofy guy and everything, and actually Barbara Tackert asked if you are a comedian. So do you do comedy on the side?
I mean,
by the look on your face, I'm gonna say no.
She likes you. She thinks you're funny.
I mean, no, I'm flattered. But I mean, there is something comical about having the tree fall on you, I guess. Like it's like when Wiley, like the coyote, gets blown up, or like an anvil falls on him. Like, it's kind of comical, but I mean, if that's the kind of comedy you're into,
That's dark.
I've done plenty of it on this trip.
Well, we just promise if you're going to be on this show, you're going to get asked questions you won't get asked anywhere else. So,
No, that's a great question. I've never been asked that. Yeah. No, I write jokes every once in a while I'm walking, just for something to do.
That's
But
great. So
yeah,
I have a question for you.
I often don't share them because they're not funny. So
well, that was funny.
just to me.
So I have a question for
okay.
you. We have a topic we always talk about on this podcast. It has to be brought up at least once on every show. And I looked through pictures of you on Google, so I stalked you just a touch before we did the show. And you have had facial hair. So you've had a beard. How big is that? What's the biggest your beard has ever gotten? Or are you pretty much just a clean cut kind of guy?
Yeah.
Must have been pretty long.
Shoot, John, I'm missing your question. I'll probably come back on here in a second.
Oh, here, let me ask you.
Okay.
Let me ask you again.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I lost you there.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me try it again here.
I want to answer your question.
Okay.
Please,
I Facebook stalked you and I got on Google search and looked up pictures and everything, and I've noticed that you have had facial hair in the past. So we're kind of a beardy kind of group here. How long has your beard ever been?
It's been not long. I mean, I don't think I ever measured it, but it's, hitting my chest like.
Oh wow.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I should have taken some specs at that point in time, but yeah, I mean, I've had long beards. As I have been on this trip, I've been more comfortable with that when it's been cold, and not as comfortable with that when it's been warm. Yeah. So there are other times in my life where it didn't bother me. Recently, I've been like, I don't know, just like skin isn't happy about it. I had a beard before I got on with you guys today.
Really?
At least a small beard. Nothing impressive like you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
It always has to come
now
up.
I have warning. Next time, don't shave the beard before I get on with the two of you, so we can be Z's on top.
There we go. There we go.
But yeah, long beards are good. Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on an hour, and I want to make sure you have time to tell us about all the ways people can see what you're doing. I know you're trying to raise money to make this trail a big deal. And like you said, it's going to take years to do that, and there are going to be finances to make that happen. Why don't you just kind of share with people how they can keep up with what you're doing, how they can maybe contribute and help out with it. Just the floor is yours. Share whatever you'd like.
Great. So, I mean, if you just Google my name, like Rue McKenrick, it'll bring up the American Perimeter Trail Project website, and which is American Perimeter Trail Project.weebly.com. And if you go there, there's a way to contribute through PayPal. Also there you can see like all the gear sponsors that have helped out as I've gone. And you can kind of see what gear I'm using generally. So that's one way to contribute. There is a GoFundMe. Again, you would just go to American Perimeter Trail Project and you'll find a campaign there. There's one on Facebook on the American Perimeter Trail Project Facebook page. That might be a little more buried, and I'm not sure if Layla's still running that one, but that was another way for people to contribute. If you want to catch up with me on Instagram, you can look there's an American Perimeter Trail Project page, and then there's my personal page. On Facebook, if you try to hit me up on my personal page, I don't use it anymore. So you can find both Layla and I at the American Perimeter Trail Project. And the way that people have done this is contributed in many different ways. Some of them have given money. Layla put up a Amazon wish list on the Facebook page. And so there's a lot of people that will choose to buy something that's going to be used directly for this trip. So when you talked about like winter gear earlier, there'll be stuff that goes on there, or there already is stuff on there, and things that we've received that way. So I don't know, there's a couple of different ways to contribute, but also like, it's just really nice getting messages from people. It's really nice just people checking me out on social media and letting me know, like, you know, we're still in this together. Like I said, tonight I have a meeting, so everything that happens right now is for the actual backpacking trip, which I will be concluding in the next 2 or 3 months. And so all of that stuff, like the money and the goods and all that stuff, go to directly supporting the trip. And just so you know, like, it's more than I could ever ask for. And it's also like enough. This isn't like a get rich sort of scheme. And then the idea is, and like I said, we're starting this process soon, is to actually form the formal organization when I return, which will be a nonprofit. So then if people want to contribute at that time, we may have a different website. I'm not exactly sure. It'll be tax deductible. And that will be going more towards the conservation effort. So it comes in a couple different phases. So right now we're in the backpacking phase and exploration. And then what comes next is there's going to be some more exploration. I'll probably do that in a car, more than likely. But until then, yeah, find me on Instagram or Facebook or GoFundMe or the American Perimeter Trail Project website. And if all that fails, just send us an email and Layla will figure it out for you.
Well, I know it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm sure, Jeremiah, you feel the same way.
Oh, absolutely. I have so many unanswered questions. I'd love to have you back on sometime.
I'm thinking when you finish this, we would love to have you back. We'd love to have you back.
I think that'd be
back on the show.
I think that'd be great. Yeah, it's just like, this has been a really positive experience for me. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to join you another time, and maybe we'll even catch up, not publicly, sometime too.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Well, thank you so much, man. And we will get with you again. It's a guarantee. Am I right, Jeremiah?
Oh, absolutely, baby. We're gonna hit you up.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Okay. And if I don't have the beard together yet, just cut me some slack.
We're not going to promise anything, but we'll be nice.
It's going to be a neck beard. It's going to be a neck beard.
I like it. I like it. Well, be safe, man. Be safe.
Good. Take care.
We'll talk to you later. All right, Jeremiah, that was such a good time, man. That was awesome.
Wow. What an interesting guy. I can't wait to talk more to him.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. So, well, man, that's the end of the show. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in today. We are definitely going to have Rue back on again. No doubt about it. It's going to happen. But for myself and Jeremiah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next go-round.
Adios.